Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. I'm so glad you're here. What do we got going on? Well, it's a short trading week, right? Thanksgiving's tomorrow. Before I forget, want to wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. Markets are closed. Be open on Friday for a short session, and then we'll get into next week. Now, what's interesting in the short Thanksgiving week is that most of the traders are on vacation. So whichever way they push the market, if they were to push the market up, when the traders come back, they usually slam it down. If they push the market down during the short week, the short 3-day week, the traders come back and they bid it up. They get it cheaper. So whatever happens this week, next week is typically the opposite. Not always 100%, but about 85% of the time. Now, we've come down a little bit, but we got a lot farther to drop. Look it, I think we're going back to the April lows. Now, the April lows would really just take us back to the 200-week moving average. Now, the 200-week moving average, by many people's definition, is where the bear market starts. You have to drop below the 200-week moving average to have a bear market. Now, some people say it's a 20% drop and then you're in a bear market, but most traders, professional traders, use the 200-week moving average, and to drop below that, that puts us into a bear market. That means we can still fall about 25% from here and still be in a bull market. Now, we've been in a bull market for 17 straight years. Now, we did have that little 3-week drop below the 200-week moving average in 2020 during the pandemic, so maybe that was the shortest bear market in history, but just for argument's sake, we've been in a bull market for 17 straight years. That is the longest bull run in the history, right? And that's going to be followed by the biggest collapse. It's going to be followed by a violent collapse. And that's just my opinion. You see, now when we get down to the 200-week moving average, when we get back to the April lows with the Federal Reserve, they're going to panic, right? They're going to panic, and they're going to cut rates as fast as they can, and they're going to get a bounce off that, in my opinion. Maybe they can push it up higher. I don't think so. Look, at Bitcoin has led the way down, right? It's got a little bit of a rebound now, but it led the way down. It was trading up here 127, came all the way down to 80,000, right? I mean, I don't know, what is that, 35-40% drop, right? And that just shows you that, to me, that shows that liquidity has really dried up in this marketplace. Liquidity is gone. The banks are getting ready to topple over, and we're going to have a banking crisis this time. We're not going to have Great Depression 2 yet. We're going to have that, but first we're going to have a banking crisis. Okay, that's just my take. Your take may be completely different. I don't want you talking about this stuff at Thanksgiving dinner. People get very upset when you bring this stuff up. Don't talk to anybody about it. Just come to Tall Mike's channel and we'll talk about it. Now, what I want to talk today a little bit about is how Bitcoin blends with everything. Bitcoin blends with everything. Okay, Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is a real estate syndicator, right? Okay, what does he do? He goes out and he buys apartment complexes. To give you Grant's history, he started as a used car salesman, worked his way up, wrote a course on selling cars, right? And put it out to all the dealerships, made millions of dollars doing that. And then he got into the real estate side of things, and he started this syndication now, where he goes out and he buys apartment complexes. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this. He went out and bought a 366 unit apartment complex, 366 units in Boca Raton, Florida, right? He paid $235 million. Now, that sounds like a really good deal. You know who he bought it from? Bought it from BlackRock. Now, BlackRock bought that complex much higher. Complex went into bankruptcy. Blackstone, I had the name wrong. Blackstone then sells it to Grant Cardone for $235 million. Grant Cardone bought it out of bankruptcy. Okay, so he now owns this 366 unit apartment building. Now, do you think that's really good? I think that's really good. I think that's where he should do a full stop. But he's been talking with Michael Saylor that you got to add Bitcoin to everything. It's like having breakfast food, right? Like cereal. You got got to add milk to all the different cereals. Milk goes with everything. Think of Bitcoin as the milk you put on the cereal. Now, the cereal would be Grant Cardone's 366 unit apartment complex. So he's got investors right now. How does a syndication work? First of all, syndication, it means you get a fee for finding the property. So he got to pay a fee for finding this property, maybe 10, 20%. So he already made $45 million and put it in his pocket. Then he sells it to all his investors. Like, I could start a syndication and ask you to invest in it. That's Grant Cardone has millions of followers. He raises money. 200,000 minimum buy-in, and we're just going to use that as an example. 200,000 minimum buy-in to invest with Grant into his syndication, where he already pocketed a 20% purchasing fee, finder's fee, I think is technically what they call, and then he will manage the apartments. He won't actually do it. He'll hand it off to someone else. He'll charge you 10% and pay someone 5% and make a little bit on the 5% difference. And then when he sells the property, he'll take 30% of the profit. See, syndication is a great thing for the syndicator. I used to be in the horse racing business. We did syndications, right? Because the cost to own a horse is very expensive, especially if you want one that's running in the Kentucky Derby. You're going to pay almost $1 million, and you get a syndication together because it's expensive to feed, to train, to keep the horse for the 3 years before the Kentucky Derby starts. So you need a lot of people putting money in. So syndication, very profitable for the syndicator. The people investing in the syndication, not quite as profitable. Now, if you want to invest in real estate, I would recommend doing a syndication yourself instead of being involved in someone else's syndication. Now, you can do a one-man syndication where you just go out and buy a house and make it a rental property. You manage it. You save the 20% on the front end, the 10% management fee, and the 30% on the back end. But he's got these 366 units, and you know what he's going to do? Well, this is what Michael Saylor talked him into. He is going to add $100 million of Bitcoin. You know what? He already added the $100 million. $100 million of Bitcoin up here at 120,000. Bitcoin dropped to 80,000, right? So he already lost $40 million of not his money, of the syndication's money, right? And I'm sure he's got some management fee on how he keeps the Bitcoin, but he's going to blend the apartment complex, 366 units, with the $100 million of Bitcoin, and he calls this his hybrid model. This is great. This is great because Michael Saylor's got the game plan. See, Michael Saylor told Grant Cardone, you got to go public when you sell, because then you can make more money, you get more fees, more money. So he's got this 366 unit, 235 million to buy the 366 units, threw in another 100 million to buy Bitcoin up here at 120,000 of Bitcoin, and now he's going to take the project public. Project's going to go public. What all happened to all the people that invested $200,000? Well, they're going to get shares. Your $200,000 will get you 40,000 shares at $5 a share. Now, here's what he claims he's doing. He's called 10X. 10X. Grant Cardone's going to 10X your money. He's going to turn that $5 a share into $50. In other words, if you give him $200,000, he's going to turn that into $2 million. Okay, that sounds really cool, right? Okay, well, that's what syndications do. Is all you got to do is mix Bitcoin, but he's already down 35, 40,000 on the Bitcoin. But you see, he's got a plan. He's got a plan. Well, you see, everybody that pays rent, they take the rent money. You know what they do? They buy more Bitcoin, because that's what Michael Saylor says to do, right? Do you realize how many companies are getting destroyed right now because Michael Saylor talked them into being Bitcoin treasury companies? Well, one's funny. It's the President of the United States. DJT is the symbol, right? Trump Media, it's down 90%. You say you're going to be part of Bitcoin. It is the kiss of death. I mean, there's a lot of these companies out there. There's one called Naka. Naka went from $30, trading about 50 cents right now. I don't know. That's like got to be close to a 99% wipeout, right? You got Metaplanet. That's a Japanese company, a little tougher to invest in the U.S. But what'd they do? Well, they were a hotel company, I believe. And what'd they do? Well, they levered out all the hotels, borrowed as much money as they could. I went and bought Bitcoin, right? It's just dropping like a rock. All these are in free fall. Master strategy, MicroStrategies, master strategy. MSTR, the symbol sounds like master, right? What's that down already? 70, 80%. You got another one, ASST, entities, assist entities, down, 90, 95%. Anyways, these were companies that actually had a business model. Now, Michael Saylor, in full defense of Michael Saylor, he never had a business model that made any money, right? You can go back to the dot-com days. He never made money there, lost 99% of all the money for his investment. Don't worry, Michael Saylor's fine. He is like the syndicator. He is like Grant Cardone. He is the one charging the fees. He has his billions of dollars outside of the company where you're all invested in that company, right? Same with Grant Cardone, the syndicator, right? He makes his money no matter what happens. You could lose 100% of your money, but Grant still gets paid. Isn't that great? You want to be the syndicator, right? I mean, Michael, I'm not saying he's stupid. He's smart. He's getting you to invest, but he's outside the syndication. Grant Cardone's outside the syndication. They go in public, take their companies public. That way, no liability goes to them when it goes to zero, right? But these companies, they're falling off a cliff, right? I mean, Bitcoin went from 120,000 down to 80,000, and now these companies are lost 90% of their value, of their market share, of their market value, right? Now, they had, like, some of them are real companies, a hotel business, right? They may go completely under now. I mean, it's really sad to see there's over 100 of these companies, and they're just falling like a rock. Why? Because they listen to Michael Saylor, put all their money in Bitcoin, and now they can't pay the bills and they're out of business, wiping out perfectly good companies to become Bitcoin treasury companies. Now, I don't know what Trump media does, but it looks like it's going to get wiped out also. I mean, this is just sad in my opinion, just sad. Bitcoin does not match with everything, right? I mean, they would be much better off. All these companies would have been better off if they had just taken their excess dollars, if they really wanted to invest in something, put them into real money, put them into gold, put them into silver, put them into God's money. You know, it would have worked out okay for them. I don't think it's going to be okay. I don't think Bitcoin's done falling yet. Yes, I think they'll probably push it back up to 100,000 before we get the next drop. And the next drop will take us into the 70s, into the 60s. And in the 60s, Michael Saylor, remember, he's got $50 billion up here. He could have just stayed in cash because he's going to be liquidating all that when it gets down to about 60,000. And then Bitcoin can fall farther than that. It can go down to 20,000, 10,000. But all these companies, they're just getting hurt. I mean, it's very, very sad. They're just getting wiped out, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And there's just no end in sight. But these Bitcoin treasuries, that's the game plan, right? You don't need a product anymore. You don't need a service. All you need to do is buy Bitcoin because it's guaranteed to go up 30% a year because it's like gold on steroids. Well, actually, that'd be about half of what gold did this year, right? Gold up about 60%, where Bitcoin, I think, is still down for the year. Maybe with this recent rally up, it's got its head back above water. It's struggling, though, right? I mean, all these companies, they just going under one after the other because they can't make any money because they're now, all their cash is gone, right? They don't have any cash, no working capital. If they had invested that in their own business, like the hotel business, buy another hotel. But no, they bought Bitcoin. Don't worry, Grant's got a hybrid model for them, right? You can be half Bitcoin, half hotel, and we'll put those together because it's like milk and cereal. They just, they don't go together very well. Anyways, I got a little carried away today. I just out there every day before Thanksgiving, something fun to talk about. Get out there, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. I'll try to get a show out on Friday, and we'll see if I can do that. Give me the thumbs up first. Punch that subscribe button. We'll talk again real soon. Bye-bye now.